Hi, I'm so glad to see you here today. My name is Kayla with The Real Stuff. I have 2 kids, Wyatt and Lily, and 3 pets, Hank, Pepper, and Aries. We live in East Texas. It gets hot and cold at the same time, but we've had such a colorful life that we love to share it with everyone and get back to the basics with how things were meant to be. We hope that you enjoy our channel. Please like and subscribe. Good evening, everyone. Yes, if you are watching this, this means that we are starting a YouTube, and we're really excited. I don't know. It's a little crazy and a little terrifying, but we have a lot of stuff we want to share with you. I'm Kayla.
I'm Wyatt.
I'm Lily.
We're going to talk about a few things that we are looking forward to sharing with you guys. Gardening, fishing, hunting,
Alaska.
Alaska
all the
adventure
outdoors type of stuff.
coming
basically.
up here in May.
Yeah.
And sightseeing.
We are having a trip to Alaska.
Yes, in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
So
Right
stay tuned for that.
Right after school ends.
And morning, everyone. So, okay, why I really wanted to do this was, one, life is hard enough. I feel like the world as we live in today is super clouded. A lot of the issues are not relevant to real life, and I want to share, I guess, what that looks like, what it looks like to work hard, get some results, and to try to move forward despite anything that's coming along. And over time, I'm sure I'll reveal all of my secrets to everyone and be able to kind of talk through some of that stuff. And ultimately, though, like, my aim for all of this is for people to find inspiration. I know that quite a bit of people say that with the YouTubes and the videos, and then at the same time that they're doing it, they're running around with filters and cake makeup and, just like all of this stuff that isn't real. And I mean, I might get some hate for it. I'm not gonna lie. It's bound to happen, but I'm willing to accept that. And I'm willing to also be there, I feel like, as someone who can show you who's been through it and is still moving forward. And there are days, literally, I felt super great yesterday when I was trying to maintain, like, my calm, which, if you see the video, I woke up to a dead car battery, and the day before that I had an issue with a purchase for a shotgun, and a couple weeks before that I had an issue with my cat at the vet, and that's, needless to say, those are items that are kind of the straw on the camel's back, where with kids, there's frequent things going on where you can't ever take your sight off of what's going on with them. And I really feel like my kids have been blessed in a way, and I'm not saying that because I blessed them or anything, but it's that we've had the opportunity to go and see a lot. At their age, we have moved quite a bit, but at their age, they've seen multiple states. They've gone on so many adventures, and I see a lot of kids around here, they don't have the opportunity to go out and do things that I feel like my kids get to do. And even if they do those things, there are just some like odd, kind of, I guess I would call it odd ideals around that. I try to do the best I can, and I try to make sure that we get to go have all those experiences, because by the time your children are adults, you want them to know themselves. And I think a lot of people, by the time they get to their late 20s, early 30s, they're still chasing that college bus or that next big job bus, or I still wanted to travel, or all of a sudden you find out you're married and you have kids, and you still don't really know what you want, and you don't know who you are, and sometimes it takes so long for that to like really set in. Sometimes it takes hard situations for you to realize like what you do want and what you don't want, and the work to get back to the opportunity to have those things that you want, while balancing the other things in your lives. I'm not perfect at it, absolutely not, and I complain about it a lot. You can ask my friends. I call them on the phone, and I am tired a lot. And today specifically, I feel depleted, and I also feel a little bit defeated. And regardless of that, I'm gonna stick here with my notes. So initially, where I grew up in Northern California, the Sierra Nevada mountains. Quite a small town. Didn't realize it was that small. Didn't realize that we were kind of different than the rest of the state, or at least up there in NorCal. We're not like that. We're not city type. When you hear California, you think city type buildings, LA. A lot of kids moved down there after high school and went to college down there, and I thought that was exciting. I didn't choose to do that. I ended up moving towards the military side of things to pay for college, and they don't tell you this, but you don't have time for college when you're active duty. And I see a lot of National Guard and reservists do this, but they're able to do that because they're working, they have their 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year, whatever, and then they do get deployed. They go through the same training, but they're not actively every single day getting in their uniform, going to work at 3, 4, 5 in the morning, at random hours. It's wild. And I wanted to be super all about everything that I could do, and I thought that it would really earn me at least some respect, at least some understanding from others. And I don't know, I thought I would earn, this sort of like, hey, you did that. You like did something, you sacrificed like everything. Like, it's cool. Like, you can have a better job because of it, because now you have skills, and you went and did all this, and you went and did all that. I can say that I've been less appreciated as a veteran than I have for a bachelor's degree. Now, granted, that depends on where you live, that depends on the political arrangement, that depends on society, and I think it's quite sad. But anyhow, I do not regret my service. I do have several injuries and ailments and things like that, and I'm sure we'll discuss that at some point throughout this channel, because we're keeping it real here. And that's ultimately my choice here is yes, I am going to be vulnerable, but it's more so because a lot of people feel very defeated. I get messages constantly from people feeling defeated and venting to me, and I vent to my friends, and I do that too, but it's like I take a lot of that stuff, and what I'm hearing is, I don't know how. I don't know how to do these things. And I say that to other people too at my current state, but the things that they're telling me, I don't know how. I've mostly gotten through, so I feel like rather than saying it over the phone to just one person, I'm going going to show you how. So we don't make a ton of money. I'm going to say that right now. We do not. I try to be frugal about certain things, but other things, experiences, I would rather spend money on experiences than things. I would rather cultivate something with money and finances than sit there and spend it on the next gadget or the next style or the next, hair, whatever, obviously. I mean, split ends to the moon and back, okay? I know that health is important. I would rather spend money on health. And I'm not saying fitness programs are the next diet fad. Like, that's ridiculous. I'm tired of hearing about that shit, too. But let's get into more about all of that stuff. My background is aviation. I did work aviation for over 10 years. I worked initially as an avionics technician. That's all the systems and the wiring. A lot of people say, what's that mean, avionics? Systems and wiring on rotary wing aircraft, helicopters. Did do that. There's quite a few of us out there. Surprisingly, there is a man that lives right down the street who was also a mechanic, a different MOS title, but he was also a mechanic for Blackhawks. And so I thought it was quite funny how many people I have run into here. And no, that job doesn't get you great jobs. We won't talk about the FAA and all the other stuff and all the politics, but it gets you a step in the door maybe to electronics or electric technician, things like that. But I also feel like you can also get in that job just by knowing the basics, applying to a base level, and then using that as a step up without spending 10 years doing it and getting kind of thrown around. But I've also done plumbing, construction, not an expert, okay? Not an expert in anything. Don't like to say that. There's so much more to learn, and if you really put yourself in situations that are going to help you grow, I think that you will find that everyone has the capability to learn something new and to improve upon. It's just your choice whether or not you want to improve upon. And that does not mean that things are not hard. I'm not no one ever told us it was going to be this hard, but it is. But once you accept that, you stop seeing hard things so much as obstacles. And even when they build up, you can bitch for a day or two, you can complain, you can talk about it, but as long as you're still taking steps, that's what counts. So, aviation, electrical, plumbing, construction, I've done warehouse work, I've done military contracts. Throughout all of this time, I have never made 6 figures a year, ever. A lot of times, if you're prior service, they want to pay you like they pay everybody else, but maybe $1 more, unless you have special licenses. If you want those licenses, you better come out of pocket with them. Or go back over. If you're avionics, you had to fight with the FAA to even get a chance to take the test to get the license, and that's a whole nother year or two of things. If you're a parent or you have a family to support, you do not have time for that. I learned that the hard way. I also did contracts. I moved across the country several times. I lived in Texas right when I got out of the military in San Antonio. Moved to Pennsylvania for a contract job. Moved back to California when we got laid off there. And then moved back to Texas because cost of living, let alone everything else that goes on there. Things have changed quite a bit since I've been home. Obviously, it had been a decade, so that was a big deal. I've worked IT. I even at one point started my own carpentry business. That was a huge learning curve. If you're looking to start a business, if you have no idea about it, it can be treacherous, and initially you're going to have to invest not only income in today's society, not only income or have support from others who are willing to give you income, and 60 to 80 hours a week or more. If you're a single parent, this is hard, which I am. I have a daughter who is 10 and a son who is 12, and they're really great kids, and I would rather cultivate their life in the best way without myself being emotionally and physically depleted every day. It still happens. It's going to happen, especially if you have injuries, because those injuries are really chronic pain, pulls so much from you that you don't even realize it, and you keep thinking it's going to go away, but it does not. It just stays there. And the way the medical industry runs right now, it's, yeah, I'm not going to throw my words on that. Everybody knows. Things we enjoy doing and I want to bring here is hiking, sightseeing, places we like to go, either low cost or low time requirements that you can fit into your day. Fishing, that's a big one, although my fishing game has not gone great here. It seems like you have to have a boat in Texas to get anything good. But we're working on that. Any local adventures, recently got into hunting a couple of years ago, but I have yet to get a deer, and that is upsetting. But I have not put enough effort in to get those results. So, and that's my fault. And I think that's something that a lot of people need to address, is this instantaneous gratification. I'm guilty of it. I'm mad that half my plants aren't growing very fast, and then I realized, oh, it's only been 2.5 weeks since I really put them in the ground. Maybe 3 weeks. Okay, like, you got to give things time. Real results take time. If you're not willing to put that time, that effort, then you absolutely do not deserve those results. That's a fact of life. The phone scrolling is giving you a false sense of dopamine, and something happens when you work hard on something that's different. It's almost like the dopamine response lasts longer. You get to enjoy it longer than you do with the instantaneous flipping of the phone. So, yes, I'm going to be on social media here, but I do feel like it's really important to take a step back from that, if at all possible. At least limit yourself to things that you find important. For example, I watch certain YouTubes, but I go through them and then I say, oh, I don't like that, or I don't like this, and I only follow specific ones. If I find that I followed one and their stuff pops up and, I'm looking at it, or even on TikTok, I'm like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see that. So only the things that I enjoy pop up, because algorithms are crazy, and I don't want to waste my time seeing things that I don't need to see. Additionally, the whole factor of life is too short, especially for anybody who has struggled, had injuries, have illnesses, diseases, things like that. Life is too short. Stop wasting your time doing dumb things. Like, better yourself so you can feel better about yourself instead of getting it from the phone. But that's just my thing. Vet stuff, that's something I'd like to talk about here and there. I'm going to try to keep it censored as much as possible, but I'm hoping it kind of, like, we can all join together on this. I know a lot of vets right now, even friends of mine, they're doing the same things I'm doing. Sometimes they post about it, sometimes they don't. A lot of them aren't really talking, though, and I'd like to do that. Maybe we can all get together and have a big cookout at the end of the year. Who knows? Okay, other things, woodworking, that's a big deal to me. Science. I really like certain concepts of science and how we can look at, especially gardening or physics, things like that. No, I'm not going deep down the dive hole with algebra and all of that, but what goes up must come down, and the reality of things. And I really am kind of more like a realist at heart. I'm a very visual and hands-on learner, and there's going to be some dark humor in there. Also, because of being in Texas, we are in a growing zone, or a life zone, as I like to say. It's like zone 8, 7 or 8. It's hot, it's humid. Certain things do good here, but just because it's hot and humid doesn't mean that that part of your yard is hot and humid for that type of plant, for that environment, or for you to be working in all day. I recently had a job for the last year where we worked in a warehouse and there was no air conditioning, and we had these large fans turned on, but they really didn't circulate because the warehouse was so full of product that the air did not circulate. There was dust everywhere. In 2 months, you could go like this and scoop up a pile of dust just from the doors being open for 2 months, or even less. And you're constantly breathing that in. You're constantly having reactions. And then the indoors side is air conditioned, and everybody else in there is like, well, what's your problem? I don't understand. You're lazy. No, I'm cooking. My brain is cooking all day. That Texas is that environment. Texas is the environment where the outdoors will get to you if you do not take care of yourself, or you do not maintain the restrictions. So if you're putting yourself outside all day, you need to make sure that you drink water. You need to make sure that you're eating enough. You need to make sure of this. Otherwise, you literally will deplete, die, disintegrate. It's true. Other stuff I like to talk about is like recipes or things that I like to do that I feel like is easy. I'm not going to say life hacks because nothing's a hack these days if you're trying to do it right. But there are some things I like to do that save me time. And I think I should share them just in case you don't know, and if I don't know something and you think it's a hack, let me know. Other thing I like to talk about is kids in school, okay? Kids in school and that complete madness we all know about. I feel like all of these things in life that get to be so hard and so busy really take away from our ability to see through them, especially when you have chronic pain or injuries or illnesses or kids or a job that's draining you. It's really hard to see the light of production or a tunnel, and just in this last 2 years have been probably the hardest years of my life. 2020 or 2019, we started COVID. I actually graduated from college that year, so I was 31 going on 32. I think 31. Yeah, sorry. 31. And graduated college, felt really good about myself, was going to move into criminal justice because that's what I have my degree in, criminal justice, criminology, and forensic science. Didn't know that this area was extremely competitive for employment. Moved forward to working at the state prison system. Learned out that was a complete mistake. Do not recommend that job whatsoever. Please don't do it if you don't have to. After being there for a few months, not only was the schedule crazy, the violence was crazy. There was just so much. Whether it was you had to follow policy while things were completely obnoxious, and you're trying to do that. Shortly after starting there, I had found out while I was at work, my daughter was sexually assaulted, and she was 7 at the time. So she just turned 10. So I guess 7, almost 8, is 10 now. So I guess that was about 3 years ago. I had to fight the courts with that. Not the courts, but, we filed a police report. Everything went down with that. She was not in my care while that happened. I'm not going to state whose care she was in because I don't want any hate mail. However, that was something I had to do on my own, and for the next year, every week year and a half, I had to take her, almost 2 years, to counseling every week. every week, every single time. I didn't know if we were really making progress or not because sometimes it was so hard. In that same time, within a month or two of finding that out about her situation, she had a disease. She was born preemie, so she had a disease with her teeth that can happen. It's called hypomineralization. And my state insurance at the prison did not cover her tooth removal surgery, and no one wanted to do it. One, because it was COVID, and two, because it was so dangerous of a surgery for her age. But they all agreed that it absolutely needed to be done. So I had to come up with about $1,500 out of pocket to cover that, even though that wasn't my responsibility. It's their other parents' responsibility, but I did it. I paid for it, just paid that off, and had to use the credit card for the cat, so that's great. So aside from all that, once that happened, 30 days after that, roughly, got a phone call from a detective in San Antonio to let me know that my mother had passed away and they had found her body decomposed in her apartment. So I immediately had to drop everything and go do that. That was quite difficult, and I never want to go through anything like that again, but both of my parents have passed away. My father passed away in 2016. My mother was there in 2020, or 2020, 2021? No, it was 2020. Yeah, September 2020. So we're coming up on 3 years, which feels really crazy because it feels like that was yesterday. Shortly after that, I quit that job. I got a different job, which was also crazy. And so I quit that job and I went back to the job that I had before I went to the prison, which seemed okay at first. Let me backtrack there. Quit the job after the prison, started my business. Shortly in that time, I found out that I was having all of this pain in my abdomen. I didn't really understand it. I was having issues with weight gain. And then that turned into might have cancer. So the VA wasn't a lot of help getting that taken care of, but eventually, later that year, in 2021, I was able to get surgery, and I had, immediately after, weighed myself. It was 6 pounds lighter. 6 pounds of cysts, 3 different kinds. When you add them all together, it was about as much as a brick. So that was sitting inside of my belly, and they removed one of my ovaries. So I was thankful for that. I thought everything was going to go well. So I started that other new job, kind of like I already knew how things were going. I was recovering. And then a few months after that, I started, like maybe 6 months, I started to feel off again, and I was gaining weight again, and I didn't understand. Well, it turns out I had another new cyst, and this one even looked more cancerous than the previous one. So in December, which is November, 7 months ago, I had my second surgery to remove my other ovary. So I am 34 and I am in menopause. The hormones that you use to abate those menopausal symptoms, one, it's happening completely overnight to your body. Two, the pill form hormones are terrible. Like, the reactions I had were absolutely terrible. So now I'm on I guess they would call it holistic method, where they have plant-based hormones, like they come from actual plants or, animal-based, whatever, and they combine that with all the other hormones that you produce, progesterone, testosterone, and they put it in this little gummy thing, and I stick it in my cheek twice a day, which the change from that is tremendous. And just feeling that difference and all of the backlash that I was getting from the VA was really stressful. I also have to pay for it out of pocket because the VA considers it holistic because it's not FDA approved and it's a compounded medication. However, this should be FDA approved. It needs to happen. I'm not even lying. Like, whatever this other pharmaceutical lab-based stuff that they're making is terrible. It's absolutely terrible. These other natural-based products, they're so much better for you. I feel so much better. So I just want to bring that out there in case anybody needs to know that. It is expensive. I pay $167 a month for it, but it helps. It really does. If I didn't have that medication, then I wouldn't even be able to barely function at this point. It was so bad. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that too much further. Anyway, that just happened. All that happened. I started another new job. Yeah, job hopping. It's great. The anxiety from that job was absolutely ridiculous, and I started to question whether or not I was capable of dealing with normal job drama anymore. I do have anxiety and all of my injuries, and because I do work very hard, everyone assumes that I'm fine and that this is just my normal work ethic. So people just kind of, those jobs are like, here, you do that. And then when you're like, no, dude, I can't, they're like, well, like, come on. So I ended up leaving the one job that I just had. It was supposed to be work from home, which was exciting to me, and they also ask veterans and stuff to do it. It's a military contract, and I thought, well, this is really great. This is something I'll be used to. It's IT. I know how to do all that. Like, it's gonna be great. And it turned out to be one of the hardest situations ever. And so I left that. So now we're moving into Texas cottage food, and YouTube and all of those things. Now I am not done working, but I had to close my business down because while I was sick, I was unable to fully do that. When you stay at a job for many years, people are like, oh yeah, like you can take time off when you're ill. But when you haven't been there long enough, they're like, sorry, dude, you don't count. So having that hit quite a bit over and over and over again because of the choices I've made has sucked. So I started to think about how I'm going to do habits that serve me and serve the kids. But it is quite impossible to be an excellent parent, an excellent career-oriented person, an excellent fitness guru / healthy, an excellent all of these things for a normal person. And I'm not going to say normal because what's normal anymore, but for a normal person who doesn't have injuries, and even has like a helpful ex-spouse or a helpful children's other parent. If you don't have that, a lot of people have family or good friends that will help out daily. I do not have that. I have one friend that comes over daily, but they have a terminal illness, and I try to limit how much I ask of them. But I do love them very much and very thankful for all the things that they show up for all the time. But there's all of that, and not having a support system and not having family or anything like that really is there daily. It really does wear on you, and it really begins to become impossible, especially as the children get older and they get more and more extracurricular activities. So right now we currently have, it's the end of the year, which, oh my gosh, I'm so tired of already. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. My body hates me. The end of the year for school has been wild. It's not a good wild. It's a extremely stressful wild. On top of that, we also have soccer weekly. I have to go to soccer practice with the kids 2 to 4 times a week. 3 to 4, sorry. So each kid has a different soccer practice on a different day, and because the league is so large, and your kid gets attached to kids on their team, and you don't know what anything is until the last minute, you're looking at being like shifting. So on Tuesdays we go to soccer, and on Wednesdays we go to soccer, and on Saturdays we go to soccer, and you don't know whose game is at what time, so we go to soccer twice sometimes on a Saturday, and that's every Saturday. Youth sports is consuming. I also try to be outdoors and take the kids places during that. So the weekends that they're not with their other parent, or we're at soccer, maybe on the Sunday, we go and do something that's semi low key that brings everyone a little bit of enjoyment so that we're not so stressed out because, you know, school and work and everything else, right? Well, Sunday night happens and we're usually up late, stressed out, trying to get everything ready for school the next day. And the other additional to that is what responsibilities as a parent, managing all your finances. You know, my other kid has neighborhood jobs, and he goes around and he does work for a lot of the elderly here in the neighborhood. So I have to take him to that, and he's 12, so I don't trust people, and so I go with him and I just, you know, sit there while he's doing his thing. Usually talk to whoever he's working with, so we're all distracted, but typically like that happens once or twice a week. He's definitely making his own little income, so I'm trying to, you know, teach him finances. Then you have dinners, then you have, you know, what are they doing for lunch, and, you know, does their lunch money need to count if they're going to eat lunch from school, you know, or do we need to make lunch tonight, and like, do I need to do all the dishes? I don't have a dishwasher. That sucks. It's been like that we've been here since 2019, so we're looking at 2023 now. August will be 4 years without a dishwasher, so I bought one for the counter. I'll show that to you. But it's not big enough to just do all of the things. So we have 3 pets. Hank, he was a homeless dog. When we found him where I went to school, he was skinny and dying and all of those things, and we just couldn't leave him there. I don't really know. The plan initially was to help him get better and then find him a home, and then we just kind of fell in love with him and ended up keeping him. And then we have Aries. He's the cat who's currently struggling right now with his urethral blockage issue. He's the sweetest cat ever. I found him through Nextdoor. And we also have Pepper, another cat. And Pepper we found about 2 years ago. Has it really been that long? Maybe it was 2 years ago. My neighbor across the street here had bought this house and was redoing it and found the cat inside the furnace. So he said, I can't keep her. I don't know what to do. I think she's pregnant. She turned out not to be pregnant. She ended up having ovarian infection. So they had to give her like an immediate cat surgery to remove all of her ovaries and everything, that poor cat. But she's adorable. She's soft. She only likes me for the most part. Sometimes she likes the kids, but she's skittish. And so we have 3 pets, you know, and I have to balance all of that. And I have this glorious garden, and I live in Texas. Anybody else that I've known for a very long time either lives in another state, because I knew them while I was in the Army. They live over 3 hours away, or they live in California. Because I grew up there. That's basically where I'm at. I have lived away from everyone for quite some time. I don't enjoy it all the time. Most of the time I do not. But I also enjoy being by myself. And that comes with stress. If you're going to choose to be by yourself, you will also receive the punishment of handling everything by yourself. So that's a difficult choice. Anyway, a lot of these things, a lot of choices I've made, I just feel like a lot of single parents, you know, you go through the same thoughts and processes, and you start looking at how do you balance this, and it is nearly impossible without having mental breakdowns or being extremely overworked and virtually losing yourself, unless you can find a way to incorporate it with your children. Also, when they are very little, it is hard to start new things, and it is hard to get into habits that are going to work as they get older, because kids forget everything that happened, right? You don't remember everything from when you were little. Some people have good memories, you know, but basically they forget, and so you're having to constantly retrain your kids to like be productive people to society, and that gets exhausting, and especially when you have a child that desires the most attention or is constantly fighting you. And if you have another child that is kind of lazy, it's a really bad combination sometimes. But sometimes you have like these really amazing days where you're like, I love this person so much and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So we better figure out a better way to balance things. So that's really what I'm bringing all of this here. I really want to talk about gardening for the most part right now. Up to come is in May. Well, it is May, the end of the month. We are going on a trip to Wasilla, Alaska, and we are adventuring up there. We've really wanted to go visit Alaska for some time. I love nature. I love the beauty of the mountains and peace and clear water. People in the South have no idea what that's like. They don't know, guys. They don't know. But I can't wait to go. I'm so excited, and so I want to bring everyone along for that. And so please stay tuned. If you feel like this is for you and you're excited to join this with us, then definitely please follow along and subscribe and do all of the things. I'm really excited for all of this, and I just really hope that it goes well. And I think it's going to. And I think as long as we all stick together, then we're really going to get somewhere. And I hope that this helps anyone watching it, that you get something from this video today. So have a great day.